belonging, significance, worth, acceptance, validation.
And validation is a huge, if it's 2 parts hydrogen, love is 2 parts V.
Yeah.
2 parts validation. There's something about the weight, the power of that. With God, there is always more. More love, more life, more freedom. Welcome to Zoweh's Exploring More with Michael Thompson. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Our Heavenly Father has provided many delightful ends for us along our journey, but He takes great care to see that we do not mistake any of them for home." Join me and the team as we explore the kingdom together, discovering the deep truths and offering encouragement for the journey. There is always more. Welcome, friends and allies, to the Exploring More podcast. Michael Thompson here, hanging out with us, Jay Jennings there, and we are exploring the kingdom and walking together in, I think these podcasts, I would say, walking together in observation of what's going on in us, what's going on around us.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just my best shot at a quick definition. What are we doing? You know, why are we talking about things? But things come up all the time for those who are paying attention. And I want to talk about a subject that's just really been exciting, fun, good for men, good for women. But we've kind of stepped into this space, some years ago. But I think we're getting better at it, and it's this space of validation.
Yeah,
recognizing someone for what they've either accomplished or where they are in the journey,
overcome.
So many different things that can lend itself to validation. So we are going to talk about that for a couple episodes. And King Me still, when you write a book, I have not journeyed at all from the content in that book. I'm in that still.
Sure.
I'm not on, the next thing is not
us too.
I'm not on to the next thing. That's still kind of my next thing, especially because of the conversations and the ways in which now King Me's, finding its owners and men are responding. We've got the conferences coming up, and but this on the masculine journey, it just seems like when we invite men to talk about, so who's validated you along your journey? What did they say? When did it happen? It feels like it's a little light. It's a little half empty, if at all.
When you said that, the first thing that came to my mind was, well, in order to really receive validation, most men have to get over the fact that they weren't. They're especially by their dads.
Yeah,
right?
So there's a pioneering in that regard. I agree 1,000%. And there's deficits. There's a divot there. There's something that's missing, and so we're trying to do this with each other, for each other, and to your point, without a lot of practice, without a lot of experience. Mm-hmm. Howard Hendricks, a great seminary professor of Dallas Seminary, said, it's impossible to give what you don't own.
Yeah.
Having even some training in validation, how to do that, how to impart courage, how to stand with somebody and say, I see you, and well done. Mm-hmm. That was hard, mm-hmm. And then to see the other person receive, that's a whole other subject. Maybe we can talk about,
receiving validation. Talk about later. Maybe that's the 4th episode doing this in this series. But man, it's I remember, years ago, I think it was at a Top Gun or Heart of a Warrior weekend. You either brought it up or I don't remember where I heard it, but the long and the short of the idea is, you ask a room full of men, what is it that you would want to hear from your father if he was standing in front of you now and he would say anything to you that you desired?
Yeah.
What would it be? Son, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
I mean, those validating words for men, it's a way to say I love you, right?
Yeah.
It's the as you wish of the masculine world, right?
Yeah.
But from Princess Bride, but I mean, 90+% of a room of 100 guys.
Yeah.
That's what they want to hear. And if you can't, my dad died when I was 23. I can't hear that from my father anymore. But fortunately, I have other men around me, right, that say that know, hey, the validation's important and can deliver that message. Yeah. So I love to talk about what it is and why it's so important, but I also want to talk about why is it so important to men? Why is it so important that they receive it? Because I feel pretty strongly it's a little like maybe not oxygen, but it's pretty daggum close, man.
It's definitely a higher octane type fuel. It's something that we can run on. Yeah. It's something that moves us. So great points.
We did one recently, man, and I'm telling you, the guy that we validated, he was 4 or 5 inches taller afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I physically noticed it, how much taller he was standing up.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. So. Very, and I'd love to talk about that some more too. Lots to talk about. You made me remember a story at Heart of a Warrior Encounter. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago to the point you were making. And it was in the welcome and the intro. And I know that, 300 men plus sitting in the room, there are some, not just stories, SJ, there are some sagas.
Sure.
There are some absolute rough stories. And if you could see in the spiritual realm, their souls coming in the door, you would see some guys crawling.
Yeah.
They're, but they walk in, hey, yo, but I mean, inside.
It's like the guy from Saving Private Ryan carrying his own arm around. I mean, good grief, man.
Yeah.
They are
wounded. And weary and challenged and yet still moving. So they come into the weekend. And I remember this guy from Nebraska came by himself.
Oh, yeah.
And which was miraculous. He drove 20 some hours to get to Virginia and Rockbridge, the Young Life camp we were at. And after the first session, he came up to me in tears. First session. Yeah. This is the welcome.
Right.
We're glad you're here.
It's sort of like, hey, I know it's a travel day. You're getting settled in. Not supposed to be momentous, right?
Yeah. But I said in the middle of that welcome and looking them in, as many of them as I could in the eye and just said, well done for being here. I'm so proud of you. And then went on with the business of so here's what we're going to do and here's what's coming.
Here's the format.
All that. So, coming up out of the pit where you speak and Mark comes and says, can I talk? He's in tears already. I'm like, yeah. And he said, you said, I'm proud of you. And I have never heard those words ever.
Wow.
And the reason we talk about this and tell that story is how validation is, as you said earlier, so life-giving. I didn't know him. Now, he knew me from the book. He knew me from reading the book, and that's why he came. That's why a lot of men eventually or try to get there, is because they want more after the book. But yeah, validation is this. I think of a glass of water in a dry space. You know, if you've ever had a plant. We had this happen just the other day. I'd given Robin some flowers. Sherry gives Robin flowers all the time. So we have these vases in different places. Well, if you don't monitor even cut flowers, they're still, they're drinking. Mm-hmm. And when it was, the water had gone dry, and these flowers, literally, SJ, had just gone. I mean, just like that. Yeah. They were on the counter, hanging over the little vase, and so I said, "Hun, we're what
are we doing with these?
We got to help. We got to help these little ones." And so water went in. I came back in the kitchen an hour, and they were like.
Yeah, amazing.
And it's that kind of sustenance. It's that kind of saturation, that there is this drying, this place, the heart, the soul, can dry out. And so what is it to have the sustenance of validation and encouragement and recognition and obviously Mark's heart in that time was just never. You've never had a drink of that? Man, am I glad you're here.
Yeah. Which is why in the just you saying that, no other context. Just you got here and you said it, I'm proud of you. It wasn't personalized to him. But he was so thirsty for it. I bet he didn't know how thirsty he was.
Well, the tears is an ironic part of the story. I mean, here you need water, and here comes water. You're leaking, and he did recognize in that moment when it was said, that was for me. He said, if you didn't say that for anybody else, I remember now. He said, did you mean it? Did you mean it?
Wow.
Yeah. I did. Yeah.
So interesting.
So there's something about that, the desire for that, the want of that, and the recognition of, how can I be a distributor of that? Yeah. And I want to talk about that. And I think there's a lot of stories and a lot of opportunity to just not validate the point that we're making, but to just kind of drive it in a way that what if there was a culture of honor that existed amongst men?
It's directly tied to that.
Amongst marriages, amongst families. Yeah. And I say, somebody just came in, and I say families because our kids long for that.
Oh, sure.
And the challenge is, too, as a dad of adult children, it might be a little risky to want, or to require that is a better word from them, from Stephen, from my girls. It's incredible when it happens.
It is.
And where you take the question, is it to your wife? Is it to your children? Is it to your friends? That's a thing that we can maybe talk about too. But where I was going was, Robin had just gone for her birthday to see two of my daughters live in the same city, and so Robin went for her birthday. And the woman, her birthday was in March. The woman can stretch a birthday out.
Sherry too. It's great. I love celebrating.
In April. We're in April,
fine.
Right?
Yeah.
And
I took Sherry to the beach last week. Or whatever
for her birthday. A month
which
later,
is in March.
Yeah, they are.
But it's fine.
It is fine, kind of. So
maybe we should learn something.
I think I'm going to try to get a month's worth of birthday this year. But I just texted my oldest and youngest, and I said, hey. Thank you for taking care of mom.
Mm-hmm.
That she loved it. I'm proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
And Caleb and I were talking earlier about reactions and responses to texts. There's just some folks that it's immediate. It's just they can't. Their phone. Oh, well, somebody texted me. Blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
And then there's other people that are on their normal is you may not hear from them that day. You just kind of learned they may not reply. So, or they texted you, you replied, and then it goes silent. But so my girls are kind of like that. They're back and forth. Like I may or may not hear from them. Wasn't expecting both of them within seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I just find that interesting.
That's very interesting.
That with the validating
Yeah.
and encouraging word comes hearts, emojis, thanks emojis.
Mm-hmm.
Just very, very, very important to recognize
Mm-hmm.
if you're right, and this is something that people are craving and have been missing for most of their lives. No wonder, we are looking for it, hoping for it, whether it's social media or, just being recognized, being seen.
Yeah.
And a kind word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Scripture says a kind word turns away wrath. I don't think that's an issue between you giving me a kind word turns away some wrath between us. I think a kind word actually helps me be defensive against the wraths that are coming at me,
right?
And wanting to, in some way, assault my heart. Continue to keep that heart and soul.
I think
dry.
it can be the both and, but we can talk more about that because I've been on the receiving end of bringing wrath,
and a kind word,
and it kind of just diffusing it with the response being a kind word, just kind of just stops it. I mean, so anyway,
dials down.
Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, maybe we talk
the coin
a little bit about what, if we need to. Do we need to talk more about what validation is? Mm-hmm. What does that word even mean?
Okay.
And then we can get into
the coin.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. We'll be right back. Every man has a kingdom. Not every king rules well. Like a living piece in life's checker game, you are moving across the board towards your time of greatest authority and impact. But what kind of king will you be? In King Me, I want to guide you through the 6 stages of the masculine journey and invite you to walk with God into healing encounters and validating experiences. Through this, we can learn to wield love as our greatest weapon and provide a kingdom where hearts are free. Every man does have a kingdom. Not every king rules well. You can. It's your move.
Now available on Amazon. See kingmebook.com for more details.
Welcome back to the Exploring More podcast, talking about validation and the weight of it, the power of it, the sustenance of it. And when we say sustenance, you really are talking about food, nutrition. This is what the body runs on.
Yeah.
What does the soul run on? What does the heart run on? And this value proposition, we've talked about it many times, SJ, about, to be recognized and to receive that recognition is a very, very powerful idea. Encouragement, adoration, attention, affection, all of those things are validating things. We were talking about before the break, defining what that might look like.
Yeah, I think for in my mind, Michael, it goes right back to, the questions you're asking when you're a little one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you love me?
Yeah. Do you love
and
what
do
you
love what you see?
Yeah.
It goes.
That's great.
It's in us from the beginning
and to the end.
Right? So the validation of my, horse that doesn't look anything like a horse ends up on the refrigerator when I'm a little kid. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you love me? Do you love what you see? That does not go away
Right.
throughout our lives.
Yeah.
Right. So it's directly tied to that in my mind. It's it's answering that questions. And I don't know that when we are validated, and I've been validated many times by my friends, but I don't remember thinking in that moment,
I'm being validated.
or here's this question being, they do love me, they do love what they see.
Mm-hmm.
But what if we could be more awake and aware to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the desire of our hearts.
Yeah.
When we are putting things on social media, and it has a lot of benefits, it has a lot of detriments too. But what I think makes it so successful is that people are hungry for validation. If they get a thumbs up, if they get likes, they get comments, this and that, wow, that's amazing.
Views.
That's what they're trying for, right? And so do you love me? Do you love what you see? What if we're more aware and awake to that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the awareness, I think, then, like, why would that be important is what I was thinking. Why would awareness be important? Because then you can pay attention to where you're taking those questions and to who. Yeah. And so we were talking about at one point, I remember talking about there's kind of this part of me, SJ, that's a bit of a panhandler.
Yeah.
Shaking the can. Kind of going out there and do you see me? Do you want to be with me? Am I okay? Would you vote for me? And we say, do you love me? And it's the right thing to say, but I really believe that there's molecular, boil it down to the periodical table and what makes up water. H2O. What makes up love? And there's these the elements. Ingredients. Thank you. Elements of, I see you. Invitation. Come with us. Belonging. All of those things that we've talked so much about.
We did a series about it. If you haven't listened to the Ingredients of Love podcast series, you should. Yeah. Belonging, significance, worth, acceptance, validation.
And validation is a huge, if it's 2 parts hydrogen, love is 2 parts V. Yeah. 2 parts validation. There's something about the weight, the power of that. And to have a culture that is aware of that. I'm not sure this is a crime, but if your crime is, man, that guy's always validating everybody. What's
an
wrong?
overvalidator.
What's wrong with him? I wish he'd stop it.
I think he's looking for validation about being a validator.
Right. Yeah. Or somehow there's a,
to your point,
that, have we yet to see those people? I don't think so. I don't know. Yeah. But when they're well placed and when they're coming from a source that is true, less needy and more true. So when my core needs are met and being met by an endless supply of love and attention and validation in the Trinity, I have something to offer. I have something to give. I have, man, I got so many awards and trophies from God. Here you have one. That's
a bowling trophy.
You're just able to, and yet that's so funny you say that in this stupid analogy. That's a bowling trophy, but it's a trophy nonetheless.
It's a trophy.
And you win, and I see you. And so that 4-year-old becomes a 40-year-old. Right. And to be recognized. I mean, I can think of so many examples from film and from my own story. Got an incredible text from Bill Darrow. And I could take 10 minutes telling about my part-time relationship with Bill Darrow, but in those parts, they're always significant. Yeah. Bill recognizing me, validating me for he's reading King Me. Here's this man I respect the crap out of. Right. Elder sage who's reading a book that I wrote and is validating me.
Yeah.
And saying, well done. Those are powerful words.
They absolutely are.
And if Jesus got to hear those words, I wonder how many of us would take, you can take a pinky to hear those words and have them really stick, have them be true and be able to receive that kind of validation. So
I think validation carries, maybe if the soup of love, you know what I mean, is like got two parts validation and it's one part of everything else. Maybe it's because all of the other ones are a form of validation. Mm-hmm. And so what made me think about that was, I've been around the Encounter weekend for 10 plus years. Early on, you invited me onto the conference team, I-team, all these other roles. I've worn all the hats. But this year, you asked me to be a part of the guide team and actually deliver a talk to the men. Mm-hmm. And just that invitation was validating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Invitation can be, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So belonging, hey, come with me, be a part of what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. That's validating.
Yeah. Feeling
accepted.
Yeah.
Validation. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting to think about that is the, that's the kind of the overarching, it kind of all comes back to that in some ways, all the ingredients of love. And
where I want to land this particular episode is, you set this up really well, is what if those image bearers, those other souls that are validating you, are actually delivery people in the kingdom, giving packages from God, by God, to you in your story. And what if the lack of that is just making it kind of simple here, but what if the lack of that is the enemy at work, killing that stuff at the border? Like, it's not getting in. I'm not. Or when it does,
it's got a lot of defenses to get through.
Yes. Or when it does, it can't be recognized and received. It can't be, you were talking about Christopher and the ceremony, because there's validating text, like I just talked about with my girls. That's different than a ceremony,
right?
That has been created to deliver these packages, and literally a package. And secondly, the package of his friends putting a hand on his shoulder and speaking to him eye to eye, and him receiving it. As I watched it, it was holy, fun, good. And yet, if my point, SJ, is if Christopher thought that was just us, he would be being validated, but he would be missing out.
He wouldn't be wrong. He just wouldn't be fully right.
He wouldn't be fully right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm after.
Yeah.
That what if love itself, love himself, was trying to get those messages across enemy lines through his image bearers to our hearts. Now validation comes in at a whole other space, and to honor one another, to have a culture of honor, to be, looking for those well done moments, and whether it's a wink or a thumbs up or it's a ceremony.
Or it's a ceremony, that's right.
All of that, I wonder how that would change the landscape if all of us beggars, all of us needy souls, not everybody, just us needy ones, were, getting some kind of handout from God.
Man, I just can't not think about this scene from Les Mis with Liam Neeson when he's, first coming across the friar or the vicar or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah, the bishop.
The bishop, thank you. And I could have gone through all of them. The deacon,
Yeah.
the priest, the bishop, yeah. And he's a beggar because he's
an ex-con.
For
He's
stealing bread.
on parole.
You know,
he's identified with that role. I know where you're going. Go ahead.
Yeah,
It's
and he
really,
just takes
really
the hood off of him and validates the mess out of him.
unveils
You know?
him.
Yeah. Jean Valjean, my brother.
Mm-hmm. You no longer belong to evil.
Mm-hmm.
With this silver, I've rescued your soul.
I've ransomed you.
you.
Yeah.
Rescued your soul, and I give you back to God.
Ceremony.
Right there in the back.
And that silver, became his redemption. The way his life became.
And the wealth that he created for the hearts of others. That's a very powerful, cool idea.
Yeah.
So let's land this one.
Okay.
And I want to, in the next episode, I really want to get to some of these tokens of what's it look like?
Yeah.
What is a good, if somebody were to say, man, I really love that. You guys talk about validation. I'd like to know more how to do it. Like what are they buy in, they get it. I think I'd love to talk a little bit more about what we're learning about what good validation, recognition, and encouragement really looks like. Mm-hmm. And it may be that simple. Maybe it's a no-brainer, like duh. Maybe if that's the case, like why the heck isn't there more of that? And if we agree that we're all hopeful for it, longing for it, wanting it, from 4 to 84, then come on,
I think that's a great way to start the next episode. Yep. Why isn't there more of it?
Yep.
Because I got 3 or 4 answers for that question.
Okay. All right. We'll do it. We'll do it. So, hey, thanks for being with us on the Exploring More podcast. You can, wherever you're watching or wherever you're listening, just like we talked about, we're begging for validation. You can thumbs up. You
Give
can
us a like.
You can share us.
Subscribe.
Share us with somebody, please.
Yeah.
But that really helps spread the word.
It does.
And so anything else? Yeah,
we're a crowd-funded organization here at Zoweh. If you'd like to contribute and help keep the battleship moving, zoweh.org/give is a great place to go to do that. Thank you so much for watching and listening.
Yeah, thank you, and we'll see you next time on the Exploring More podcast. We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Exploring More. The landing page for this podcast is zoweh.org/podcast. That's ZOWEH.org/podcast, where you can find the show notes and various platforms to which we broadcast. You can also find us and the Life of More by visiting Zoweh on YouVersion Bible app, Right Now Media, our Facebook page, and Zoweh on Instagram and Twitter. Remember, with God there is always more, and you were made for more.